Weren't exactly the fiercest, toughest opponent, but the Eagles did beat them. How close are they now when you look at this Philadelphia team to resembling the team we saw march through and win last year?
Well, I think they're growing closer to that. Still some defensive struggles that they have had. You know, Saquon Barkley ran through them, caught the ball underneath, made big plays in the passing game. But I think offensively, the thing to me that is setting them apart, or will set them apart, is Carson Wentz coming off the knee injury and him continuing to develop, him continuing to get confidence. Anytime you come off an injury like that, it takes you a bunch of games. It takes you 5, 6, 7 games to all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about my knee in practice. I didn't even think about the recovery. I didn't even think about that in the game. And so it gets you to the point where you start to develop more and more and more confidence. And when you do that, you're going to play faster and faster. And so I think that's offensively where they are. When they get that rhythm back with their quarterback, they start running the ball a little bit more because they do have a tendency to get away from it. I think then we'll see this team continue to progress and get back to kind of their Super Bowl form.
Yeah, I think there was a trap that they had to fall into, because for one, whoever they were going to be this year, regardless of how well they played, they couldn't be the team from last year because the quarterback wasn't there. And Stink, you know this, when we start a season over now in the NFL, more so even than when we play, you got 30, 35% new faces.
Yeah.
So you're saying, okay, you know, I want this team to play like last year's team with 30 to 40% new personnel, including the most important one, the quarterback. Like, it's not a goal that's obtainable. So, like, we shouldn't be talking about Carson Wentz. What I like here in the press conference is he skipped over that. He said, we got back to the identity for which we know. That's playing fast, because there's certain traits or characteristics that teams want to be able to play to. And I think that's what's more important to Philadelphia, being a physical football team, offense and defensive front, not giving up big plays on the back end. These are the type of characteristics, mixing the run with the pass, moving the quarterback out of the pocket. These are the characteristics to playing good football, not to last year's Super Bowl. So for me, we got to stop, and they got to stop trying to get back to something that's not obtainable, because we don't have the same guys. So now I'd be asking these guys to play like the guys that I had last year.
Agreed, except for this point. They do have the same offensive line. They have the same defensive line with some additions.
No, they don't.
What do you mean?
Jason Peters, he's starting. Right?
Yeah, but he was there for the bulk of their run last year.
No. Let's go to the last 2 games of the regular season, the 2 games in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl. That's a 5-game. That's the team that won the Super Bowl. Would you guys agree? It's not the team that started in September.
Agreed.
It was that team that took the field in late December. Questionable. That's why you had huge question marks about them. So you can't. That offensive line's not the same. The defensive line's not the same.
So the point that I think you might actually agree with the point I'm trying to make, which is the way they were in position to have home field was the strength of their offensive line, defensive line, and quarterback play. Now those 3 units, like what we saw against the Giants was how the Eagles were in the position they were in pre-Carson Wentz injury. Against the Giants, they allow 1 sack after the offensive line not playing well. Against the Giants, their D-line looks ferocious, and I think most importantly against the Giants, Carson Wentz was better on 3rd down, completed more passes, and had more yards passing on 3rd down against the Giants than he had in the 3 previous games combined. That, to me, was what their special sauce was last year, prior to the underdogs, prior to the injuries. Like, we got to see how they're going to be in the playoffs once the playoffs start. But to get back there and to potentially have another home game in Philadelphia, it's offensive line, defensive line, and quarterback.
But there's no team. There's no team that's preparing, saying, I want to do what I did last year. All right? So we as commentators, I'm not going to commentate, because I know no team is doing that.
You know what's interesting? Doing a couple of Rams games, they didn't really play at all in the preseason, their offense. And everybody's like, oh, how's this going to affect them? Well, they brought back 10 of 11 starters. So they had continuity from last year. Like, the Philadelphia Eagles started the season without their quarterback. He wasn't full go in practice. So you've got an extension in the first 3 weeks of really you're playing preseason games as you're trying to get but you're in the regular season. So there was going to be a learning curve for them. But I'm with you. When they get the offensive line, defensive line, that they're built from the inside out.
It's not, to me, it's not about how did we win last year. It's about what is the strength of our team. Like, let's say last year never happened. We would look at the Eagles and say the strength of their team should be their big people and their quarterback. That's the point I'm making.
And that's what they should be talking about. And that's what we should be talking about, because what happened last year, it does not help Carson Wentz. It does not help Jason Peters. Why? Because they weren't there. They were just like me, not there.
We actually were there.
Stick around. Be here when we come back.